Now, I will introduce Richard Golinowski, who is the Vice President and Airport Manager at Dulles International Airport, which includes the airport, the Dulles Toll Road, and the Dulles International Airport Access Highway. Prior to assuming this position in September of 2021, he served as Vice President for Operations. He joined the Airport Authority in February of 1995 and previously held management positions at Reagan National Airport for resource support, engineering, maintenance, and airport operations. Without further ado, Mr. Golinowski.
Thanks, Joe, and thanks everybody for being here today. You know, I always love the opportunity to brag about the airport. It's really a great airport with a lot of great people that work there and a lot of great partners. And nothing happens at the airport without everybody in this room. Everybody working together, making sure that we are aligned for a common goal, and that's taking care of our customers at every level, all the time. And as long as we can do that, this airport will continue to thrive. But today what I'd like to do is spend a few minutes going over some of the highlights from 2025 and talk a little bit about our vision for 2026 and beyond. And then at the end, I'm happy to take some questions if anybody has. And I'd also like to recognize Mark Unkerfer, our incoming board chairman, effective January, I believe, right, officially. Mark's been with the authority as on board for 6 years? 9 years, excuse me, 9 years. And has been a great asset to the leadership team, guiding us along our way. And I, as the airport manager, look to the board for a lot of advice, consent, and guidance, along with Jack Potter and our executive team. So without further ado, we'll get into some of what we've done here in 2025. First of all, the passenger counts have been phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. You see in 2024, we set a record crossing the 27 million mark. And in 2025, it looks like we're going to cross the 28.5 mark. And with this, and this will be a common theme, with this growth comes pressure on the facility and comes pressure on the area. But at the end of the day, it's all good news. And it's good news for us, it's good news for our airline partners, and it's good news especially for the DMV and anybody who travels through here or comes into the country. And I remind my folks a lot of times that, and you probably heard me say this before, the people at Dulles Airport are the first, in many instances, the first American citizens that they see when they come to this country. And the impression that our airport team gives on those people will last a lifetime. So it's really incumbent upon all of us to really have a smile on our face and be helpful and be welcoming to everybody who comes here. With all that being said, this, I think, exceeded our expectations. This year, like I said, 28.5. Next year, we're going to be growing even more. So one of the questions that often comes up is how do we compare with other airlines or other airports? And you can see here, this was through September of 2025. Dulles, 8.5% growth, the fastest growing large hub international airport in the country. And that's not because of anything I do. It's because of the partners that we have here at the airport. Phenomenal team that works here, keeping our passengers coming and going. So if you look through this list, through this bar chart, you see, our competitors, Chicago SFO, DFW, all the way down the line. And you see, unfortunately, National Airport there, 5.2% down. And we're all trying to figure this out. We believe, it has two causes right now. One is there's still some lingering impacts from that accident on January 29th. Loss of 67 people. But we also believe that changes in the federal government have also impacted travel through DCA. So there is some segment of the population that doesn't want to travel through DCA anymore. I think that over time that will change and they'll be back. But then the other piece is, like I said, travel associated with the federal government. And here's another interesting part about that. I was just talking to our FBO friends yesterday, and they said business is booming on the GA side. And the ramps are concrete, available concrete, gets filled up almost on a daily basis with GA aircraft. So not only are we looking at dealing with the growth of United, which is phenomenal, and our other airline partners, mainline partners, We're also dealing with growth from the GA business. So again, it's good news for everybody. And then you see there in yellow BWI, our nemesis up in Maryland. They've been struggling too. And I say that sort of jokingly because I think collectively the three airports work together to try and make sure that we have good transportation infrastructure into the region. But they have been suffering. A lot of that has to do with changes in the Southwest Airlines and what they're doing. So you say, okay, Richard, well, you had a good 24, you had a really good 25. You look like you have a good track record here. Where are you going in the next 5-6 years? And you can see here, this is our forecast. Overall, about 30% growth through 2030. And you start to think, well, is that all United? You know, United's a big part of our operation here. Yes, United is. 70% of our business. But again, we have our other airlines here. And right now, United is one of 52. So we're very excited about United's growth, no question about it. But we're also very excited about our other 51 carriers at Dulles Airport, because it takes all of them to make this airline or this airport grow. And here are just an example over the past 2 years. We've added 8 new airlines. That's how we got to the 52. 24 routes, and over 1.5 million seats added to our operations here. This is in large part due to our airline and business development team. They're out and about all the time. In fact, I never see them. In fact, they've got some, I don't know, I think we tried counting one day how many times we see the airline business development folks here locally, rather than calling on a Teams meeting because they're out in Hong Kong or in London or wherever they are. And they are gone more than they are here. And that's good. We need those connections. We need those opportunities. They're really focusing on Asia right now, trying to bring the Asian market back. That has not completely recovered from COVID, understandably, but we think over time that will start to come back. So they're very active. I'm very appreciative of the work they do. And they work very closely with the airport and the existing airline partners to make sure that if they do find a new airline that wants to come here, that we're prepared to handle it, because we don't want to be overwhelmed. So they say, okay, Richard, well then, just tell me why people are coming here. Well, one of the things is our cost per employment. And Jack Potter, our president, and our board has really driven into us, cost per employment is meaningful. And if you can keep that cost down, you're going to invite new activity to the airport. It's business. Everybody wants to make money, and we fully understand that. So the more we can keep this down at a reasonable level, the more likely we are to have new carriers coming in. So you see here for 2025, our budgeted cost per employment, we were looking at $11, and it looks like it's going to be down below $10. So all you business people there, you realize, yeah, you keep the cost down to operate, more people are going to operate. They're going to want to come into this market. But then you also have the other issue here. Everybody wants to come into this region. Everybody wants to visit the DMV. Everybody wants to come into DC. And I mentioned the GA business. That's all people coming in to try and hook up with the federal government, try and figure out how they can make money with work in the federal government. So it's a really good news story for everybody, whether it's GA, whether it's commercial airlines, whether it's service providers at the airport. Everybody seems to be doing well, and we're doing everything we can to make that happen. So the other question comes up is, well, it's not just about the airlines growing their business and adding new seats and adding new carriers and keeping our cost per employment down. We have to get the people to the airport. So we have these other partners that work on a day-to-day basis to make sure we get our partners or get our customers to the airport. So you see these businesses, the Ubers and Lyfts of the world, and there have been a couple others that have come and gone, but Uber and Lyft seem to be pretty strong. Their business is up 8% year over year. So the next question is, well, if they're gaining 8%, who's losing? And unfortunately, the taxi business at Dulles is down. And there's a change in the way the customer wants to get to the airport, and they're switching over to the TNCs. We've also added a lot of bus service, transit bus service. Loudoun County just added service from the airport to, believe it or not, Prince William County. I haven't figured that one out yet. I'm sure somebody can explain it to me. But they're bringing people from Manassas or Dumfries into the airport and into Loudoun County, and probably for a connection to the Silverway. In addition to that, we have other services up and down 81 and 95 corridor that keep bringing people to the airport, and we're doing everything we can to make the airport accessible for these buses coming in. But that adds pressure on our roads, and we need to make sure that we adapt our roads to this extra use or extra traffic from buses. Going back to the Ubers and Lyfts, we've just recently changed where they park on the airport, and we did that because of the volume. They're growing. We need to reconfigure how they're operating on the airport to try and make it smoother. If you've ever used Lyft prior to today, prior to this year, you would get dropped off in the upper levels, or either departures or arrivals level. And we said, that's not working. Let's get them down on the ground level. So we had to reconfigure the roads. Allison Fisher from our engineering department put a plan together to get these roads reconfigured and get all the Ubers and Lyfts downstairs. We think it's a better experience for the customer, and we think it's a better experience for the Lyft operators. In addition to this, Metro. Well, I can't talk about this enough. Their growth, especially at the Dulles station, has been phenomenal over the past year since 2022 and beyond. Really exceeding expectations. You can see 5 to 7% growth year over year for Metro. So you have to ask yourself why. I think it's because a couple things. Number one, traffic. People don't want to sit in traffic if they can take a Metro. The cost, I think it's $6.75 from the city center out to Dulles Airport. And there's more business opportunity here. Here on the airport, more jobs available. I'll get to that in a minute. So people want to come from the city center and come out to Dulles Airport. Metro is an easy way to do that. In addition to transporting people, we also work very closely with our federal partners at CBP and TSA, and you can see both are exceeding expectations on their throughputs. TSA, about 3 minutes to process people through on outbound, and CBP, about 10 to 20 minutes coming inbound. CBP has done a phenomenal job recently over the past year of improving their use of technology to get people through the airport and get them through from the aircraft into the airport. And they continue to push technological changes, improvements. So we are working with them on almost a daily basis to figure out what's the next step for CBP processing people. In addition to that, on the outbound, going back to TSA, Scott Johnson, our FSD, phenomenal FSD, Federal Security Director, doing a great job of also introducing new technology for outbound people. And that if you're familiar with DCA, they have a touchless check-in for TSA. They're planning to bring that out to Dulles here in the new year between January and February. So that'll speed the process up for people going through a pre-check. It's really going to be an improvement for the customer, and I've gone through it myself at National Airport. It's very seamless. It's almost like walking through. You don't even have to pause to get passed through, to get checked through. So it's a really good opportunity. So then people say, well, okay, Richard, you've got growth, you've got airlines expanding, you've got Ubers and Lyfts, you've got CBP doing phenomenally. What are you doing with your facilities? You've got a 60-year-old facility, actually 63 years old now. How are you taking care of that? And I have a team of 530 or 40 people that work very diligently to make sure that our airport works as best as it can. And things that you may not even know about. For instance, our interior electric team replaced all the lights in the parking lot. And most people don't even think about this unless you're sitting there in the parking lot and you lose your purse or you drop your watch or whatever, drop your keys. Boy, these lights really make a difference. Say, well, that's just part of maintenance. And it's true. It is. It's part of our job. We take care of things. My point in showing this is the commitment of our folks to try and make the airport better on a day-to-day basis. In February, I'll be up here talking about the master plan for the airport and what our vision is. And I'll get into a little bit of that here today. But I go back to today, we've got to make sure the customer experience is as good as it can be. And we are looking for little ways, incremental ways. I talked about Allison reconfiguring the roads. Talked about Jason Taylor improving our lights here. Little things that we can do on a day-to-day basis to make the trip for the customer as good as it can be. I often tell my folks, we need to focus on Route 28 to the gate. Everything the customer has to deal with, from the roads, through the parking lot, through the ticket counter, through TSA, through the gate, getting people seated and getting them ultimately on their plane. All these things have to be taken into consideration every single day. And the team works, like I said, fabulously at getting all that done. But it's not just my folks. I mentioned 530 or 40 people for my team directly. We just finished a population report at Dulles. We do this every year. 33,000 people depend on the success of Dulles Airport for their livelihood, one way or another. 33,000 people. And that's up about 2,000 people from last year. So you can see the growth. A lot of that comes from United and their expansion, but all these other service providers that feed United and the other 51 airlines, they're all here making sure that we have that common goal and that common endpoint of having a very successful trip for our customers coming through, either leaving or coming into Dulles Airport. So that's it for 2025. Fantastic year. 2024 was good. 2025 is better. My team is exhausted. I know that. They wake up in the middle of the night and start sending texts and emails to each other, trying to make sure that they're ready for the day. And they're doing a great job, and I really appreciate that. I can't thank them enough. So let's go to 2026 and where we're going in the future. We've talked about some of the growth, some of the expansion, some of the new construction, some of the new infrastructure that we're putting in. But I think it's important to remind people about where we started. And for those of us who were here in 1962, Dick Dacos, I think, was here in 1962. You may remember when President Kennedy was here on the opening day. And I think you've heard me tell the story before. When President Kennedy came for opening day, and they had the opening ceremonies. He blessed the airport, then he got back into his car, they took him back to the White House, and we shut the airport down. And the first flight didn't happen for another 2 days. Well, anybody who's operating today, it's not like this anymore. The airport is growing, it's bustling, it's expanding, but I think it's really important to remember our roots. And I think it's important to remember that the designers of this airport really had a vision for what Dulles was going to look like ultimately. So if you look at our history, back in 2000, early 2000s up through 2010, we had this big expansion plan and the economy took a little bit of a dump and we had to sort of settle back and crawl back some of our plans. And now we're at a position, or we're at a point where we need to start expanding. Here, CD, you can see where we were in 62. It was a bunch of fractured buildings, disconnected midfield buildings, and over time, over the years, they all got connected. And if anybody operates or flies through United, yes, it's a connected building, but it's not very pretty, and it's not very customer focused. We're doing the best we can. United's doing a fantastic job. Our concessions are doing a fantastic job to try and keep people happy as they fly through there. But ultimately, we need to rebuild, and that's where we're going now. So Dulles Next is the vision for Dulles Airport, moving into the future. And this is just showing the airfield part of it with the concourses and the gates. There's a lot of other work around the main airfield part, but this is what we're working on now. And this is really the cornerstone for the development and the expansion of Dulles Airport and the expansion of air service in the region. And you can see here, I have circled in orange down here on the sort of center left is Concourse E. That's east, or what we call, the multiple names for this, Tier 2, Phase 1, East, Concourse E. But it's that piece right now, and that's what's under construction today. And Turner Construction is our contractor of that project. And you can see here, I think this was taken a couple weeks ago. They are moving and grooving. They got most of the concrete down. We're getting ready to open some new sections of concrete. Some of the jet bridges are coming in. You can see that we have 2 jet bridges per gate. So those are all multi-use gates. Mars gates, you can put wide bodies as well as narrow bodies on them. Then they're going to start moving to the south side with new jet bridges on the south side. You see up to the top right, the United Club. I think it's going to be the largest club in the United system when that opens. It's an impressive building. It's all glass on the outside, and all that glass is up right now. And we're really looking forward to getting this open. And just to give you sort of an idea of how big this is, it's approximately 3 football fields in length. So it's a huge structure. And I'll get into some of the other phases, but it's important to know that this is not the largest phase. The next phase is going to be even bigger. Here's another view of that same building. This is from the west looking east. And you can see again the United Club for reference. And in that central area, as you come up through the club area, you're not actually in the club's on the top level, but you come up from the train station and you come into a whole new concessions arena there as you come in, and you can get your beer or wine or whatever you want to get and food, and then go to your gate. So we're really looking forward to the improved customer experience as they come out of the train rather than that long walk back tunnel, and then having a new array of concessions that serve all of our customers. And that green wall there, that is green, and that wall is a temporary wall that separates phase 1 from phase 2. And once we build phase 2, we'll be able to tear that wall down and connect everything together. So ultimately, this is what the facility is going to look like. And you can see it's a lot of concrete out there to take care of. And you can see there another view of the club on the right. And you can see on the left our mobile lounge docks serving the concourse as well. One of the things that's going to be different about this facility, and it's sort of hard to see here, but if you see this gentleman here in the white shirt pulling a bag and the mucus racks, above that, that's a walkway, and that's going to be the sterile corridor. So all the international passengers will come up out of the gatehouse and go upstairs in the sterile corridor. For phase 1, they'll go back to the CFIS or the IAB system at the C station, but in the future, they'll be going to a new customs facility in phase 2. So this is a much more modern facility, much brighter than what we have in CD today. It looks more like the AB concourse that we have, but there are going to be a lot more new amenities that we're looking forward to opening or providing our customers. So here's sort of a larger, higher level view, so you can see how everything's going to be set up. And you can see the candy cane. That's our train that goes from B to Main to A, back down to what we're now calling the E station. So that station exists today, and that's where you come, if you're flying United, you get out of that station, then you have the long walk back tunnel to the C concourse. But in September of this year, or next year, when it opens up, you'll just pop right up into those new concourse gates. Now, in addition to that, we're not just worried about this new construction. We have, sort of like what I was saying before about Jason and Allison, the projects they're working on, we have existing facilities that we need to expand and improve. So one of the things we're doing is at the B gates, it already started this year, but opening next year, we're converting domestic gates into joint domestic and international gates. So all these gates, 75, 79, 81, 78, 76, 74, they'll all have sterile corridors in them, so we can add or expand our international capacity at Dulles Airport. So again, I want people to focus not on just the shiny new stuff that we're doing for Tier 2, but we're also dealing with existing facilities to try and improve them as much as possible. And then ultimately, this is what the layout is going to look like for Dulles Airport. So phase 1 opens September 30th of 2026. And that date is essentially cast in stone. I think that's the date that Jack has told our board of directors on more than one occasion that that's going to be it. And I think once that date has been published the way it has been, I think it's come heck or high water, that concourse is opening up on September 30th. Now, one of the things that has come up about this is, okay, nobody wants to fail on September 30th, right? We all want to be successful. So we're working very closely with United Airlines to make sure that on day 1, we're prepared for that first operation and understand that day 30 is going to be better and day 60 is going to be better. So we're already in planning meetings with everybody involved to try and make sure we don't overwhelm anything on the airport on day 1, that we're prepared for the flights that come in, and that we can handle changes over the coming months. And I think United, although I say day 1, day 30, day 60, United is more like, okay, day 1, day 7, day 14. That's how they're looking at it. But we're going to keep pushing as hard as we can. And then September 30th, phase 1 opens, like I said. On October 1st, phase 2 starts. And we're already in the throes of design for phase 2. We've already awarded a Seymour contract to Turner Construction to do phase 2. Everybody's very excited about it. And I believe that once we have phase 1 and phase 2, you're going to see a big shift with United from CD concourse, moving all their flights or a lot of their flights down to tier 2. But it's important to know they still want to keep phase or CD concourse open for the foreseeable future. They have so much planes, so much aircraft coming into the region, into their system. They have to put them somewhere. Their growth plan says we need to find gates. And all our discussions with United, you've heard me say before, somebody at the authority is talking with somebody from United on a daily basis about this. And they keep telling us, don't forget, we need gates, we need gates, we need gates. So they are prepared, they're primed to serve the DMV. They want to make this a more attractive destination for their customers and our customers. And we believe that this expansion is going to do it for them. So moving forward, beyond the great 24, beyond the great 25, beyond a very hectic 26 that we're preparing for, what are we going to do next? So, the big elephant in the room right now, right? There was a big announcement from the DOT a couple weeks ago by President Trump and Secretary Duffy talking about trying to make Dulles a better airport. So, as the airport manager, I'm thinking, wow, that doesn't say a whole lot about Dulles Airport right now, does it? But then we reflected on it more and said, well, this is a good opportunity. This is a great opportunity for Dulles Airport. It's a great opportunity for the authority. It's a great opportunity for the region. Because there may be people out there that have great ideas that we haven't thought about. So we are looking at the plan or the ideas coming in from developers or designers or architects or planners, master planners, and trying to figure out whether we can take those ideas and incorporate it into our master plan. So over the next 45 days, we're expecting questions from prospective submitters on this RFI, and we are going to do whatever we can to answer the questions, show them what we have, tell them our ideas and our thoughts, and at the 45-day mark, when they submit their proposals, we're going to review them. Part of the RFI, if you've read it in the Federal Register, all that information will be delivered to the Airports Authority, and then we're going to have to evaluate it. So we're putting together a plan now. Jack and the board is trying to figure out, okay, how are we going to structure this review process, so that as these ideas come in, we can review them and make sure that we are paying enough attention to them and taking ideas that are very good ideas, I'm sure, that are going to be coming in to try and make the authority or make the airport a better place than what it is today. One of the things that the president said, that he loves the main terminal, the Air Sheridan terminal. That's not going anywhere, and nor do we expect it to. But there might be some places where we can make some improvements for the betterment of everybody. So with that, I think about at my time limit. One thing I would like to close on, though, is just sort of a summary of where we are in 2026 and the things that we're thinking about. I mentioned Tier 2 Phase 1 opening up with the East Station in September. Tier 2 Phase 2 starts immediately thereafter. The new international gates at the B concourse. And then next year, 2026, is July 4th. Hard to believe, 250 years. Somebody mentioned this morning, and I'm mentioning it today, I was alive in 1976. So I really enjoyed the bicentennial at that time. And we're really looking forward to the 250th anniversary in July. And then in addition to that, all the things that we do on a daily basis to make sure that the airport functions safely and efficiently, and we can get people from 28 to the gate and then back again. Because we want everybody to have a good experience as they come through Dulles Airport. I can't emphasize enough the support that we get from everybody in this room to make Dulles Airport successful. I can't emphasize enough the partnerships that we have with our 52 air carriers. It's been a great several years as we've prepared for this explosion in a good way. And I think that under Jack's leadership and the board of directors leadership, we are really set for phenomenal expansion. I personally probably won't be here as everything unfolds. I'm on the last quarter or whatever it is, that phrase is. And that's okay. That's not a problem. But, I talk to everybody that we hire, and I say, hey, you guys are going to be here, some of these young people, you're going to be here for 30 years, and you're going to see how Dulles Airport evolves and blossoms, and you're going to see the impact of Dulles Airport on the region, how that's going to evolve and blossom as well. Loudoun County did a study this year, correct me if I'm wrong, Nancy, $5 billion in tourism revenue, $3 billion was attributed to transportation. Guess where that transportation comes from? The airport. Maybe not all $3 billion, but a lot of that $3 billion comes from people traveling through this airport. So we understand that the economic impact that the airport has on the region. We understand the economic benefit that the airport has on those 33,000 people that work here. And we understand the economic benefit that the airport has on all of our partners. So with that, thank you very much, and I'm here to take questions if anybody has.
All right, thank you. I've got the mic, I'll take your time.
Great presentation. I'm glad my wife and I could help with the pasture numbers in 2024 and 2025. But I think you're doing amazing things, and it's exciting to see the new development, new construction, which obviously is going to drive more passengers to Dulles Airport. So does that create a challenge for you to work with our federal government, with TSA and Customs, to get the employees you need to support getting those passengers through those kiosks very quickly?
Yeah, it's a good question. Thanks, Gary. So staffing for both TSA and CBP has been actually better than we've seen in other sectors. We struggle at the airport with some of our trades. TSA and CBP have done a phenomenal job of getting people on board and getting people working, even during the shutdown. They were able to keep the airport, the checkpoints, both inbound and outbound, functioning, and we didn't have any problem. So short answer is CBP, TSA, FAA don't seem to have a problem in the region. We have a bigger problem with some of our specialty trades, but even we're seeing relief on the hiring side for our guys as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard.
Yes.
I'm Salil Chada from Airfront KLM. So thank you, Richard, for the excellent presentation. We look forward for the future, the plan. So I see all the extensions, so A, B, C, D, E, and F, and they are all for departures, correct?
Yes.
And the passengers will be coming to the main terminal.
Yes.
So we don't see anything on the main terminal. How are we going to handle so many passengers if we don't do anything to the main terminal?
Right, so I think you're talking about ticketing and baggage. Yeah. We are looking at rearranging the main terminal ticket counters, for instance, trying to get a better flow on those ticket counters. We're also looking, if you're familiar, we have patios in the back on the south side. We're looking at making those expanded ticket counters. And we will be spending a lot of money, investing a lot of money in our baggage system in the coming years. So we understand, it's sort of like what I was saying about 28 to the gate. It's not just about the gate part, the last piece, it's about getting them through the whole process. So yes, we have projects on the books, part of our master plan now to improve our baggage system, and part of our master plan now to improve the whole ticketing process. Now, with that being said, the airlines have done a great job collectively. I don't necessarily specific ones may not, but collectively, the airlines have done a great job of improving their throughput on their side, getting passengers ticketed quicker, getting bags checked or tagged quicker, and getting people from the front door to TSA. So you may have heard me say this before, and I'm sort of going off on a little tangent here, so I get into these arguments sometimes with United. Anybody from United here? I love them to death, don't get me wrong. But they're always saying, I need to improve, United need to improve my throughput at the ticket counter. And I say, Henry Bird is our station manager, great guy. I said, Henry, but if you do that, all you're doing is moving the backup from the ticket counter to the checkpoint. It's better the way you have it now because it sort of self-meters and not everybody's storming the checkpoint right now. So, we go back and forth about this, but at the end of the day, technology is overtaking us. And you guys on the airline side have really improved processing throughput of your passengers up to the TSA checkpoint. So we do have plans for and projects on the books for baggage system improvements. We do have plans in design for reconfiguring the ticket counters. And we do have plans in planning right now to expand on the south side of the main terminal. One thing, I'll touch on this too, and I'm sorry I'm going on about this. We do have restrictions on the main terminal with our state historic preservation team from Virginia. And by law, we have to explain to them whenever we're making changes to that Air Sheridan building. It takes a little bit of time, and sometimes they say, no, you can't do that. Usually they say yes, we just have to show them, but it's just another step in the process that slows things down. Again, we have plans for improvements in the main terminal. Thank you.
And if I may step in, thank you for the question because it reminds me to say, go on to committeeforDulles.org and register for the February 26th luncheon where we will get in and hopefully hear from Richard and his team all about the master plan and where we are going into the future. Matt?
Matt's fine. Hi, Richard. Matt, British Airways. Just following on from Sunil's point, Ray, departures. What about international arrivals? With I know this plan stretches into like 2040, but I don't see anything up there about expanding the arrivals building.
Yeah, I'm trying to see whether I had this on a picture, and I don't think I do, unfortunately. Oh, here we do. Yeah, Dulles next. So you can see the connection from main terminal to Tier 1. You see that? You see that connection there? That hallway. Ultimately, that's going to be a new IAB. So the James A. Wilding IAB that we have today will be repurposed for something else. Customs will move into that center column there. So we'll have a series of sterile corridors that will connect into that center column. So it'll eliminate the need for mobile lounging into the IAB. Everybody will walk. Now, that's part of our 15-year master plan, or 15-year, use and lease agreement. We are looking at phasing of some of this work that may be moved up depending on what happens in the next several months, or maybe towards the end, but that's the ultimate plan. Get customs out of the isolated IAB, put it in line here, and have our customers in the AB concourse walk through customs.
Thank you. All right. Mr. Whitfield.
I grew up near Heathrow, and last Sunday they had a terrific congestion problem because some bad guys tried to rob a passenger. The access road and the ultimate capacity of the present terminal was, I think, 40 million. So what are you projecting by way of handling when you get near to the 40 million? How are you taking it towards the ultimate capacity goal of 90 million?
Well, that is the plan to get to 90 million. You saw my projection for the next 5 or 6 years, which gets us to 35 to 40 million. So I think what you're getting to is the roadway leading into the airport and the capacity there. We do have our planners and designers looking at ultimate capacity of the Dulles Access Highway, as well as the surrounding roads. So we have very good relationships with VDOT to try and make sure that the airport can sustain or or I should say the roads can handle the airport demand. But Rob, roads around Northern Virginia are just a mess sometimes. And I think collectively there are a lot of people working together to try and figure out ultimately what our roads are going to look like 10, 15, 20 years from now. So short answer to your question is we were working with VDOT to try and understand our capacity limitations and figure out how we can change our flow. Sitting behind you is Martin Bauserman, manager of toll road, and we are working with him on any changes we need to make to the toll road as well to improve access to the airport. In addition to the toll road or the access highway, we also have 28, 606 on the west side. How do we get people out of far western Loudoun County back to the airport. All these things are being discussed, and we do have a project that we're working with Loudoun County and Fairfax County to try and improve the roads on the south side of the airport along 50 to try and make that area less congested. So there are parts and pieces about roadway access or roadway development that are being discussed, again, almost every day with somebody. Thank you for the question.
All right, thank you, everybody. Thank you, Richard. We certainly appreciate your presentation today and look forward to February 26th. I think that will be very informative. And let me just say, recently my wife and I traveled to New Zealand and started out and ended at Golis, and going and coming, everything was great.
Thank
Very
you.
smooth. So we thank you for that.
I appreciate it. Thank you all.
All right.